Oh, hello everyone. Welcome into the PHNX Rising Podcast. Happy Tuesday to you all. Appreciate you guys joining us. I am Max Simpson, and I am joined by a man. He is my Gallardo to my Kev Lambert, the man who is not drinking a beer this evening, and I am taking his place drinking said beer, Mr. Owen Evans. How are we doing?
I'm surprised by the Gallardo to Kev Lambert one. I feel like there are better pairings that you could make on there. I mean, the Gabby Torres to Danny Trejo, right? There's a combination there. It works.
It was. Was it more of the? I was going off more of the corner score. Yeah, I know, kind of offbeat, and I had to remember it off the top of my head. I'm like, that combo really did happen, which is really weird. But yeah, that's what I was going with. Hesitate on that for a second anyway. But appreciate y'all joining in. Harry already active in the chat. I wonder why. We're going to hear more from you on Thursday, I'm sure, sir. But we got a lot to get into.
Yes. Downward trend, San Antonio. Downward trend, San Antonio.
Oh, downward trend, San Antonio. Well, we appreciate you guys joining us. Got a lot to get into today. We want to start off by getting a bit further into the match against Monterey Bay from Saturday. Again, that one finished 1-1, all in that draw. Owen, we talked about it at length. You know, in the moment, I think we kind of came away with, it's a good point to have, but there were definitely some missed opportunities at the table. Where do you stand now?
I mean, look, PHNX Rising probably should have created more in that game. They had enough of the ball. They had opportunities. It wasn't as though Monterey Bay... Look, Monterey were happy to sit back and defend, but it wasn't as though they didn't give Rising opportunities. The problem is that when you only get one shot on target in an entire game, you're probably going to come away with at best a point. It's very difficult to take that few chances that are actually any real challenge for the goalkeeper. And again, he made no saves all game, one shot on target, right? So it's very hard to come out of a game like that and get more than a point. Now, look, overall, again, Rising at home probably should have done a little bit better. Monterey Bay, a very mid-table kind of team, I think it's safe to say, and that's reflected in where they are, of course, in the table at the moment, but... Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse. And there was improvement, at least. I think one of the things that we've oft-spoken about is, you know, in the past, was we didn't feel like, and with Rick Shantz, the team really adapted itself necessarily, didn't necessarily have the kind of game plan and strategy that you need. That was very clearly not the case in this game. There was a plan.
Right.
And I think, broadly speaking, it worked in terms of nullifying Monterey Bay.
No, for sure. Well, let's take a look at that shot map that you referenced there. So kind of going off this, for those of you who are watching alongside us, I'll do my best to translate who those of you listen on audio. Yeah, man, there's a lot of shots, you know, some outside, the one outside the box, some that are just low, kind of like low XG. But really the key thing that you mentioned is the keeper did not have to make a save. There was the one goal off the corner from Kev Lambert, as previously mentioned. And then the one off of the woodwork. There were a couple, right? This chart doesn't tell you that there was one that was, you know, maybe half a foot above over the crossbar. There are a couple others where it was definitely within a crowded area. But when you only have one goal, like one shot on target, and you're only making the keeper make not even having them make a save, you're not going to fare super well in the results. And I'm curious, when you look at this, it doesn't tell the full story, but even just the shot selection, how you'd expect from that range to have the keeper make a bit more saves.
You would. Again, you look at them. There's a lot of misses in there. That's not good. I mean, there's a couple of blocks as well, which, that happens. I think this is fundamentally where it went wrong for PHNX Rising. When you look at the game plan as a whole, they managed to nullify Monterey Bay for the most part. But the problem you get is that only works for so long. It doesn't work kind of if you're just constantly, you know, not really creating anything, not really getting the shots that you need, not really getting just the real threatening of the goal that you need. Yeah. The more that you kind of just have to rely on the fact that, well, it's fine because we're still relatively solid. We're still eventually concern, panic, whatever kicks in at some point, and you make mistakes. You make silly mistakes, and we saw that PHNX Rising make a very, very silly mistake on the corner kick ultimately in giving away that penalty. I think it was just a penalty that, quite frankly, they had no reason to have to concede. And yeah, they pay the price for that one, and that's why they only come away with a point in the end.
Definitely. No, and I mean, I think the shot selection is something that I wouldn't even say the shot selection. It's the lack of finishing of chances. We talked about a bit after Saturday. We've talked a bit about it after previous matches, that it's something it's a recurring theme. It's not that this team isn't getting opportunities. I think that's an entirely, that's a whole nother conversation that I just don't think you really need to have with this team. It's the finishing and being clinical in those final chances, whether it is getting the right shots off, whether it is making sure that you're setting your teammates up, and they just, in these moments where it's so pressure packed and the margins are so thin, all it takes is one loose touch or one slight miss hit, or even at the end of the match of, hey, a teammate running into one another, and it just like, you see the shot kind of go wayward. It's things like that it's kind of been happening a bit all season. Again, I think I'm trying to pump the brakes where it's not something that's overly concerned, where I would rather be in this situation rather than not even creating the chances at all. But there does come a point where you will be punished if you do not capitalize on those.
There will be. And that's going to come against better teams. Mm-hmm. We've actually already seen that to an extent. We saw Phoenix Rising have a lot of possession away to San Diego Loyal. We saw them at times look like the better team. And we saw that because they couldn't convert, because they couldn't actually get those shots on goal they needed, it takes one little mistake, all of a sudden you're 1-0 down. Mm. Then you're pushing for that equalizer. You make a little mistake, you're 2-0 down.
Yeah.
You end up losing that game 3-0. That's what we saw against a better team in San Diego Loyal, and what they were able to do when you're up against a team that is, again, willing to possess the ball, might, broadly speaking, have the game plan they need to get a result, but because they can't ultimately get that ball in the back of the net, they're in for a bad time.
No, 100%. Well, and I think what we've kind of seen with Rising, how you compare and contrast them in some of the matches they face, even looking at their average position in the match you saw where they won against Birmingham Legion, and this previous match where they drew against Monterey Bay. And, kind of looking at that, and once you kind of see that on screen here, I mean, Owen, what are your first thoughts on this end? Because what I'm seeing is you're seeing on one hand, Birmingham Legion seems like a pretty even kind of distribution, like players kind of set up where it's all very structured and disciplined, versus Monterey Bay. I think there's a bit more of a counterattack punch, so to speak.
Yeah, so I think what we're seeing here in some ways is that you've got, in the Monterey Bay, when you see that you've got Manuel Arteaga, you've got Danny Trejo, especially here, you've got Uzo further up that pitch. I mean, Uzo is the furthest forward player based on his average positioning in that game. And so I think what you're seeing in the Monterey Bay one is the fact that with Rising having so much possession and having it in the opponent's half, you're seeing that those positionings for a lot of the attack-minded players, they're quite high up. Now, I know you'll probably want to speak about Uzo later in more detail, but just to contrast that a little bit to the Birmingham Legion game, if you actually look at the back, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference there. The defensive midfielders are all relatively structured, similar kind of positionings. Obviously, that's flipped in this one because Rising's home in one, away in the other. The back three, again, it's kind of similar. And so I think what you're looking at here is that Rising went into that Monterey Bay game with a much more disciplined approach, despite the fact they knew they were going to have a lot of the ball against a team that was going to let them have a lot of the ball, whereas Birmingham Legion wasn't quite the same. Birmingham Legion aren't there to absorb as much pressure in the same way that Monterey Bay did. And so you'd almost expect with Birmingham Legion, the average position is going to be a bit deeper because of just the nature of the way that play went. But it's interesting that even against Monterey Bay, a team that were going to let Rising possess a lot of the ball, actually those back 5 players, plus the goalkeeper, if you want to count him, didn't really, on average, advance much further up the pitch.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And even within the Birmingham Legion game, right, you kind of see here just the positioning of the front 3, not including Uzo, the actual front 3 designated players. It's interesting how when you have Quajo in there instead of Danny Trejo, who was in for Monterey Bay. Fascinating there how, I think they tend to play a bit wider out on the wings for Birmingham Legion versus Monterey Bay. You love how Gallardo and Trejo really like to operate within that half space. So kind of interesting there. Also in Monterey Bay, Danny Trejo really seems to be a bit more of that forward presser. He's not going to do the same type of positioning as Manuel Arteaga, who is completely that guy pressing the back line, but just little wrinkles to note. And the one thing that you kind of see on that Monterey Bay, look at Carlos Harvey and Zambrano. Like, they couldn't, like, that is just perfectly together in the midfield there. Just super fascinating how their movement has been all season.
Indeed. And I think the other thing we're seeing is, as we've said all along, and we've said this since preseason, is that there's an imbalance in those fullbacks. Mm-hmm. And that's not as though, well, Gabby Torres doesn't do much when he goes up forward. No, that's not the case. It's more the fact that they're going to rely a lot more heavily on the player on Uzo's side, typically on one of those fullbacks at least, to make the runs up there. And the other fullback is going to stay quite a bit deeper in some ways. And so, you get to that point whereby, yes, it's a back three with two wing backs, but you're seeing they're never really progressing outside of what you could also probably describe at times as a back four. He's at least ready, normally in a position easier to drop back there. Whereas Uzo goes bombing up there, and I mean, Uzo, then you expect the backline shift out a little bit and cover that space that he's leaving.
Definitely. And even not only just the imbalance where you see it in the outside backs, but even like Carlos Harvey, where you see him, he's never going to be the fully play on that back line, but even where tends to be the one drops, he is really more of that. It seems like box to box. Granted, Zambrano can be doing that as well, but Carlos Harvey seems to be the one where out of the two of them, he's going to drop a bit further back in off the back line and really kind of play in that pseudo defender type role as well. So kind of interesting, very fluid to see all of that defensive positioning. I'm curious from your perspective coming out of this match, if your opinions have changed on maybe some of the guys we highlight. I know we kind of highlight the performances of Uzo, of Kev Lambert, of Rocco. Anyone else in retrospect you think really stood out?
Not particularly. I think that most players are kind of where they were along. I think the main thing actually coming out of that game is I think it's to a degree good practice ready for San Antonio. San Antonio, again, a team that are willing to let you possess the ball, that are going to catch you on a quick break. Typically, they're not known for their, I'd say, football on the ground, pretty,
hey, you hear that,
pass
Harry?
It around kind of. They're not, and it's effective.
No,
it's really effective. At a lower league, if you can get buy-in into a system like that, and you have the talent that's capable of executing it, that can be really successful. And that's why we saw San Antonio utilizing that kind of football more and go off and actually win the title last year. So that's really the thing here, right? San Antonio are a much, much better Monterey Bay in a lot of ways. And there are differences. Of course, there are differences.
For sure.
But there's still going to be some elements of things that you have to pay attention to in the same way. You're still going to have to be very disciplined when you're going in the attack. You're going to have to make sure that you don't, attack with too many numbers in such a way that when San Antonio regain the ball, you're going to have to recover quite quickly. You want to be in a position whereby you're being disciplined, you're able to stay back, keep some numbers back at least, so that they can react when that change happens. But I think that's the main takeaway more than anything. I'm intrigued about how much, and we'll probably hear more about this on Thursday, because that's when we'll be able to speak with Juan Guerra. We'll then go off and manage to analyze what he's saying. But it's practice. It's practice in some ways for a much, much tougher foe in a game that's actually probably going to be one of the tougher of the season.
Would you say the way they played against Monterey Bay is a good blueprint to follow against San Antonio?
If they can score.
That's
the problem.
Yes.
The whole thing falls apart if you're not looking at getting goals. And I really, really think that on Rising's end, they need to click in that regard. There needs to be that just something better in the final third. And I don't know who you want to point the finger at. You can say it's the forwards not finishing. You can say it's the ball's not getting in quite right to them. I mean, there's a lot of factors at play. But regardless, they need to be better at finishing. And I mean, Scott, they're saying in the chat, is it time to start Conway over Arteaga? It's a good question.
It's a good question.
I think it's something that a lot of us have been thinking about. We've been kind of debating for a while if Conway will become the starter, or perhaps even the better question would be when he'd become the starter. We don't know. We don't know. And I mean, the thing is that obviously Arteaga gets that brace. You feel like, well, you can't really replace him because he got that brace in the home opener. But then ever since, it's been not ideal. So I think the question's perfectly valid to be asking it again.
No, definitely. We saw him, Jackson Conway, get a bit of an extended run, or I would say extended in the sense of what he's played relative to this season against Monterey Bay. And I think you still need a larger sample size. I would not be upset or really shocked if he does either start against San Antonio, or if it is more of like maybe you're playing, now you're up to 60 minutes. Maybe it's a halftime substitution, depending, of course, how the match is going. But I think it's something where, both players have their strengths. They're distinctly different players, in my view, at least in terms of movement, maybe profile and size and everything, similar in some ways. But I think Conway can just give you a bit of that clinical and decisiveness that's just been lacking up top.
Yeah. And again, it's something we've kind of said this since he arrived, that look, you got a guy who scored double-digit goals for a very poor team in Atlanta United 2 last year in this league. When you've got that at your disposal, you have to use it, and you have to use it wisely, because he can get you a lot of those goals that you need if you're playing him in right, and you're actually giving him the playing time as well.
When you look at it, Rising, except for the opening match against Charleston Battery, they have been the team to really take it to the other one. Maybe not from the very first whistle. Maybe there's a couple minutes lull here and there, but they have been the club who have been on the front foot, have been generating the more attacking opportunities earlier on in the match compared to their opponent. And it's something where you got to seize your opportunity. You got to take advantage of those opportunities as they arise to you. And an opportunity you can take advantage of is going to our friends at Circle K. They got all the deals for you guys. Iced coffee, just $1.89. We got the Polar Pops. It's getting hot out. All the different types of energy drinks, beer specials, everything going on. As always, making sure you text 31310. Text to win. Text PHNX to 31310 for all the different just updates that they're giving you guys. We'll be running more sweepstakes with them soon. Make sure you're not missing on all this great stuff. You head to circlek.com/store-locator. Again, circlek.com/store-locator to find Circle K's near you. And while you're doing that, make sure you're drinking a Four Peaks. Again, Owen, I told you that I'm drinking the nice Holiday, and that's Holly Day salted caramel porter. You're not drinking today, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm choosing to drink responsibly. Wait until I get home after I've driven home.
Yes. Interesting.
Well, I'm sure I'll enjoy a drink or two watching the Suns.
Yeah, of course. Well, we enjoy a good Four Peaks. Do it while you're watching the Suns. Grab a Suns brew. And of course, when you're joining us next Thursday, taking the NFL draft, it's on April 27th at their 8th Street Pub. Register for free in the link in our show notes. Take advantage of beer specials. Again, $3 Redbird Lager pints and $5 pitchers. And you must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. Speaking of enjoying,
I do actually have a few wows, I think, in the fridge, ready for the
oh my gosh,
ready for the old Suns game later today.
Yeah, are we? I know we're not really in the business of predicting Suns scores, but do you have a Suns victory tonight, good sir?
I don't know. It's tough to tell.
I mean, it's not going to end in a draw, buddy. So you got to say one way or another.
It's not going to end in a draw, but hey, we'll see how it ends.
Interesting. Yeah. I think someone's spamming your account, Owen. Someone is just commenting in the chat. Really weird how that happens. Anyway, going around the USL. Speaking of weird things that are happening, there are probably some key results that we want to talk about. I know we talked a bit about it on Saturday, but anything really stand out on you? Because we're kind of getting to the point of, shoot, man, it's been about a month plus of play here.
It has. Now, I'm going to kind of point to a few of these. I think that New Mexico's draw against San Diego Loyal, that's one that people kind of pointed to as, well, New Mexico is starting to build again, perhaps, a little bit after a pretty rough start to the season. They got the win in Miami, but thereafter it was 2 losses, okay? I don't know. I'm not sure whether I would quite go that far. They did have the majority of the shots. They had the majority of the shots on target, slightly less possession, but still a healthy amount in 38%. But I'm still not convinced. I mean, there's something to be said again for finishing. And I think that sometimes you get away with it a little bit more when your finishing isn't there if you feel like your team has dominated the performance. I don't think that New Mexico did that in that game against San Diego. So I don't know. I'm not maybe quite as high on them as some people might be, but we'll see. I'm just utterly bemused that yet again. I'm sorry. I understand that Nicholas Murray has a job to do at the league office, but I'm bemused yet again at the power rankings. Sorry, I'm just going to do that because this is a slight tangent, this one. But I mean, Tampa Bay Rowdies in 10th, with Rising in 13th, and Rising have got more points from less games and have a substantially better record against common opponents is baffling to me. But
make it make sense.
Make it make sense. Rising only went up 2 spots actually in the power rankings this past week. You know who actually went up the most spots in power rankings this week? Give me a guess.
Oh,
it's not that hard.
I'm actually trying to remember.
You can guess. Just looking at the scores, you can probably guess.
I know, I'm trying to pull up all the fixtures. I can't have it in front of me. You have to help me.
They've actually moved up to 9th in the power rankings. They moved up 8 spaces.
Oh, gosh.
Loudoun United with a 3-0 win over Birmingham Legion. It's interesting because you listen to some of the people from Birmingham and what they're saying here is that they felt as though in a lot of ways their good start to the season was papering over some cracks. And that's not the team now saying that. That's media there.
That'd be bad. That'd be horrible.
It would be a bit concerning if that was the line that they were choosing to go with. But,
PR guy.
But the people covering the team there, and that's what they're coming out with. And it makes sense in some ways. I mean, the 2-1 loss to Rising felt like, look, it's a bad result for them, but it was one that you could at least kind of hold your head high a little bit from at the end as well. You put the ball in the net 3 times, 2 of them were called offside. You know, it can be tough. Rising definitely employed the dark arts at the end of that game. The difference here is that then you go and lose to Loudoun 3-0. And that one is there's no real taking positives from a game like that. I recall last year when Loudoun were actually worse at that point. And at one stage, Rising were losing 4-1 to them in Loudoun. And you just kind of have to look at it and just say, they're really losing by this to these. Like, there's no real justification. There's no real justification to losing half the time to Loudoun United, okay? Let's be perfectly honest. Yeah. When you get absolutely battered in the way that Legion did, I mean, look, Loudoun didn't just beat them. They comprehensively beat them. This isn't like one of those ones whereby you put 3 in the back of the net and just go, well, it's the only real chances they had all game. Loudoun had 19 shots, 8 on target. Birmingham Legion had 7 shots, 3 on target the whole game. If Loudoun's goalkeeper hadn't even made a save, they'd have still drawn. So, and Loudoun had more possession, completed more passes, better passing accuracy. I mean, when you look at things through that lens, Birmingham deserved to lose that game.
Yeah. I mean,
and again, you lose it by 3 goals away to Loudoun. There's no excuses for that.
I mean, I think
there's no excuses.
I think this league did not follow my 4 Peaks disclaimer because I believe it's drunk this year with just the different fixtures that have come out. I mean, you even look at in the East, Charleston Battery, and you see their result against Phoenix in this season opener. I mean, they've won their last 4 games, and they're only have a goal differential of 6. I think that's just such a fascinating thing. Just the margins are, and that leads the East. The margins are so small here, even in the West, other than SAC at 11 goal differential. The next highest is San Diego Loa at 4 goal differential. All this to say, these margins are razor thin, and it's still so early for anyone to really be separating themselves. That's why you see all these topsy-turvy table movers going up and down this thing like a chutes and ladders. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And I mean, there's one other thing that I will pick up in a second, but I'm just double checking. One of the highest foul counts, actually, of all the games this weekend. Not the highest. They were beaten ultimately by Louisville, San Antonio, but Pittsburgh against RGV.
Yeah.
There were 31 fouls in that game. The referee for that game, Sergei Demianchuk, he's going to be the referee for Rising's game in San Antonio.
How many cards?
On the upcoming... It's only 4 cards.
Oh,
but
gosh.
Pittsburgh ultimately gave away 20 fouls, which is a large number of fouls to give away.
I don't like that.
So, I mean, Louisville also gave up 20 fouls over the course of the weekend. You know, it's Vegas actually gave up 18 as well. So there was
at least you're not seeing 9 yellow cards given to one team. You're not
seeing 9 yellow cards given to one team. You're not even seeing, as happened in the New Mexico-San Diego game, 4 yellows for New Mexico and 3 for San Diego.
Yeah.
But he did give a lot of fouls in that game.
Yeah, I forgot to ask, how did the match finish that went to the 338th minute with Memphis and Lights?
They played it out, didn't they? They played it out. Yeah, I've got to be honest. I still don't understand why.
Crazy.
With 12 minutes left to play, you decide. Having had that weather delay, you know what? It's fine. We'll wait 4 hours. We'll then play the 12 minutes at 1 a.m.
Dude, your ham.
Why?
Oh my gosh.
Why? It was 2-2. Just call the game. Just call it. Like, it's 2-2, 78th minute. Why do they need to wait 4 hours to play in front of no one? Because no one's staying there for 4 hours to watch 12 minutes of football.
I guess. Or maybe you're just crazy.
I mean, a small number of people may have, but very few there, especially because, it was a weather issue. So, I mean, do you really want to be out there? So I just don't get it. I mean, it was called pretty quickly after Emmanuel Ledesma got, and what a shot it was, to be fair, as well. I mean, you look at those 2 Vegas goals. One of them was very fluky, but from distance. And then the Ledesma goal was, no, that wasn't fluky. That was the quality finish of a player who, look, I know personally I expressed some doubts about him coming into this league for the whatever time it is that he's coming into this league, because he's been here before, of course, very successful with FC Cincinnati. But I think when you see moments like that, it's a reminder that even players, as they're aging, as they're getting past their prime, they're still going to have that little bit of quality in them. And that quality shows itself in those kind of shots that you take from distance and just how dangerous they can be. Maybe you don't have the legs that you once had, you still got that shot. We saw it with Didier Drogba here. Yeah. That was the extreme example, of course, but we've seen him hit some absolute rockets when he was with Phoenix Rising. Some
bangers.
Absolute rockets. Just shots from... I mean, the free kick, I believe, was away to LA Galaxy 2. It's just it's insane. And so, look, that's what you're getting with Ledesma. Of course, Ledesma signed into the season for Vegas Lights. Someone else just signed, actually, in this one, relevant for this weekend's game. Jorge Hernandez joining San Antonio. Now, Jorge has been away from USL for a little while. He was last year in 2021 when he was with LA Galaxy 2. Back then, of course, were in this league. Yes. He was something else. Named to the All-League team. 6 assists he got, but that doesn't tell the whole story. I mean, they were a reserve team. 12 goals. The real one that stands out here, 91 chances created for Hernandez in 2021. That's in one season. That averages over 3 chances created per 90 minutes of gameplay. In fact, the team themselves only got 316 chances all year. He created 91 of them.
It's a lot.
When you look at a guy like that kind of a playmaker, especially with a San Antonio team that have a tendency to be, I mean, they're quite thin. We know that Alan works them quite hard on the training ground in such a way that the injury crisis they're having now, they had it last year as well. Yep. Probably not that much of a surprise, to be perfectly honest, that they're suffering from an injury crisis of sorts, and that's impacting their depth there. But when you sign a guy like Jorge Hernandez, that's one to step up, to actually pay attention and go, okay, they're taking this seriously, as you'd expect a team that are defending champions to do. Wow. And he's someone you have really, really got to watch. We'll delve, I'm sure, into more about his game on our next show, but he's really one to watch.
Definitely. No, it seems like guy to watch. He said he's a guy who, he steps up, takes things seriously. That's what our friends at OG's brands do. They step up, they take things seriously in what they do, in creating delicious scratch-made THC gummies for our friends. As we know, they are Arizona born and bred. We got to love them, all the different things that they got. I had a wonderful time at Budsapalooza. It was quite the doozy. Watched a little Super Mario Brothers movie afterwards. Great film, by the way, if people have not seen it. Highly, Highly recommend. But yes, you can find them at your local dispensary at ogsbrands.com. You must be 21 plus years or older to enjoy responsibly. We got to shout out our friends at Valley Tap Room every day this week. They're going to have happy hour from noon to 6 every day. That's $1 off drafts and wine plus. And I get that a lot of people are going to be watching the Rising game, but hear me out on this. Saturday from 6 to 10 p.m., karaoke.
Well, bear this in mind. Rising's game kicks off.
It's at 5:30.
It's an early kickoff. Yeah.
You're of course going to come watch our post-game show. That's going to be over, say, around 8:30, give or take, somewhere in the... Owen, by the time he's
you still
done...
got then you get out, you go to the Valley Tap Room.
What is your karaoke song of choice?
Well, I don't know, because normally I would definitely go to this karaoke night. I'm sure I would.
Of course. Well,
show myself up, but I'm afraid I'm going to be in San Antonio.
Well,
so
I'm not going to get.
I'm
not going to get beers handed to me and made to
he will
sing
be
"Hey There,
buying
Pussycat."
beers.
What's new, Pussycat?
He will
That's
be
not happening.
buying beers. I'm hearing anyone who puts his name down for karaoke.
If
pick the song,
if the people compel me, perhaps I will join them out there. So hit me up in the Discord on the Twitterverse, and you can compel me to go after such a grueling
What would you
post-game
sing?
show.
What would you choose to sing then if it was actually your choice?
Ooh, dude, there are so many good ones. One of my a great go-to is anything Queen. Queen is a very good karaoke band. Sing. No?
So don't pick him anything from Queen
my
then
gosh.
when you go there.
Ooh, all right, well.
Make him sing something that he won't like.
Yes. Like What's New Pussycat, where I didn't know half the dang words.
I didn't even pick that for you.
Yes, I know. Well, no, you told me you were going to save me by doing some other song. Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't help you with that.
Yeah, I mean, we tried.
Whatever. You didn't try hard enough. Anyway, check out all the awesome things they got going on at Instagram at Valley Tap Room. Again, that's Instagram at Valley Tap Room. By the way, when you go to there, they're going to have a post about karaoke. Tag at OJ Evans 18, and he'll show up and do some karaoke. He'll fly in from San Antonio, do a red
the magic plane that gets there within 10 minutes.
Exactly,
yeah,
he'll do it. Yeah, tag out.
Max is actually keeping this technology a secret from you.
I am the mastermind behind it all. But yes, see you guys there at off the 202 and Gilbert. Fun stuff with our friends at Valley Tap Room. It's been a fun stuff, man. Got a match tomorrow. I'm not talking about a Rising match. I'm talking about a USL match. I'm talking about good old rivalry of USA versus Mexico.
God, they really, really big up this B
They really
international,
do.
Don't they? Right, let's be clear. It's a B international, right? I have to be honest, watching the Suns game the other day, just the number of times they were like, one of the biggest rivalries in North America. I'm like,
no, dude.
No, they were saying North America at one point.
Of USA Mexico?
Yeah, and I'm like, who else is there?
No, dude, I'll give you one even further. They said the world of global soccer.
US Soccer's been pushing that line as well. Look, it's a B international, let's be honest. It's an interesting one. But I think the key thing here is that most international games, even friendlies, you can look at as, okay, I want to actually get a result. I really care about the result. This one, I think, if you're looking at this as anything more than what you typically look at as a rough early season club friendly, whereby can you get something by watching it? Yes, if you're looking for specific talking points, if you're looking to see how certain individuals are doing stuff, if you're trying to treat it in the same way that coaches are treating it in terms of looking at because there are people who are like fringe players maybe that could make the squad ultimately into the Gold Cup.
I thought you were saying like they're not taking it serious. Oh yeah, no, I'm totally thinking like
no. I think there's definitely scope for those kind of things. But at the same time, it's a friendly outside of a FIFA window. Mm-hmm. We have to be perfectly clear about this. We all know exactly what it's about, right? We definitely know exactly what these... I mean, it's Mexico playing, not in Ohio. You know exactly what it's about.
Damn! That's a deep cut for those who know.
That's the US Soccer, organizing this one as well.
True.
As they talk about what is it? They've given it a name and a sponsor as well. It's got a name.
Those darn sponsors, they ruin everything.
Yeah, they do. But it's just, look, you've got to treat it as what it is, and what it is a B international. I kind of got into it with someone there today, fellow reporter, not nastily, don't worry. Good friend that many of you would know. and we were arguing, should these actually count for cap numbers? And I was saying, no, they definitely shouldn't. Because it's a B international. Let's call it what it is. It is a B international. Sure. Your caps and your goals should not really count here. But I digress. They will. But yeah, let's live in reality here. It'll be a fun experience, I think, if you go there for the experience, not so much for the game. Or it'll be fun if you're treating it as a genuine, serious, like scouting kind of exercise, kind of want to evaluate players in certain situations rather than caring too much about the result. But yeah, it was good. I mean, I got up there to training today, up to the US training up at State Farm Stadium, where it is a carpet. The field, the playing surface like a carpet. Genuinely, and they always do a good job up there, to be fair. These April, June, July games, they really do a good job. It's actually something that, when you listen to footballers and they talk about it, out of all the NFL stadiums, is the one they actually want to play at because the pitch is good.
I'm going to be honest, it took me a second to hear you say carpet because you paused and I heard car pit. And I'm thinking they have hosted like monster truck rallies there. And I'm like, that is an insult.
I'm just going to pull the mic away from him now.
No.
Look, it's the playing surface is very good. Always has been up there. And it's why they've gotten late stage Gold Cup games in part in the past. Now, of course, the Gold Cup schedule coming out today. Glendale will be hosting a group stage doubleheader featuring Qatar against Honduras and Mexico against Haiti. That coming at the end of June. But for now, all the eyes on this US-Mexico game. And actually, should you have a little bit of a listen to someone? I did speak, it was in the mix zone, so it wasn't just me. We did hear, of course, from Kate Cowell today. Talking a little bit about actually his ties to Mexico, the fact that, he's got those family links there and he's got his brother as well, getting to call up to a younger squad from Mexico while he's with the US team. So let's listen to what he said.
We know that you have Mexican family ties too. How is your mentality going to this match?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be a strong mindset. There's going to be a lot of mixed emotions and a lot of noise here, but it's going to be a great game. I'm ready for it.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Your brother he got called up to the Mexican team, the under 15. How does that feel for you? And then you playing against Mexico tomorrow. How's your family feeling? How are you feeling about his call-up? And is that something that we're going to continue to see on his side?
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome on his part. It's just going, I think, to Italy, right? Italy with Mexico?
Yeah. For the tournament.
So, I mean, he's super excited for that. My family's super excited. Obviously, I play Mexico tomorrow, so I'm sure, I don't know who he'll be rooting for, but hopefully me. But, yeah, I mean, we both respect each other a lot, and we want the best for him.
Shout out to a familiar face we heard on there.
And you also, I mean, you were also bigging up Kate Cowell as well as a Reno legend, you said,
Reno
I think,
68.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. Of course, when these games are played here for a reason, right? It's to appeal to a population, a large population that has those links with Mexico as well, in order to kind of really sell out this ground. And then you've got the players who've got the links on both sides of the border as well. And that's what we heard from there. It's always an interesting one, I guess, to see who they ultimately pick. Those things play out in the media constantly, as increasingly now, even as you see the managers, head coaches on either side get ultimately judged on who they can get to commit to them when they've got other options. So always an interesting one to hear about that. And yeah, I mean, Max, you excited for the game or no?
I am pumped for this match. And you were saying how, depending on how you look at this, it might be easy to write this match off, or it might be nothing more than what you would call
it is easy to write this match off.
Rivalry. I completely disagree, because I get that this is not within the FIFA window. You can say that. You can say, oh, it doesn't matter based on results and how the U.S. has won over Mexico, yada, yada, yada. No. I'm not hearing absolutely any of that. You are facing...
You're not listening then, Max.
You are not facing your arch rival. I do not care.
You're not facing them. You're right. You're not facing them. You're facing a B team.
I do not care the circumstances. You are playing Mexico. This is one of those things where you never know the players who are going to be featuring in this match, many of them who have been faced in the past, with dual national opportunities and deciding who they're going to play for. You never know which of those players are not only going to show up now for tomorrow, but who are also going to be showing up for the future of both these national teams. So you can say it's a friendly. You can say all these things about whatever it is, what it is. But I take a lot of stock because good luck telling the club that. And I get it's, okay. It's a C squad.
He's calling it a C international.
No,
I'm being kind. I'm saying a B international. He's saying it's a C international.
I get that. It's fair to say, but
so it doesn't matter.
You can't discount the rivalry.
It's a cash grab.
No.
They are tugging on these emotional
heartstrings. Good luck telling the players that, man. Good luck telling the players that. You don't think the players are going to be like putting a lot of this? I bet that it's going to be a high tempo, and not just because, people are fighting for roster spots. I think people legitimately are going to take this like personally. I do not care if it's a B squad, a C squad, whatever you want to call it. No, I legitimately think there will be bragging rights and just personal pride at stake.
It's not in a FIFA window, man.
Doesn't matter. You want to win. You think you want to just roll over against Mexico, or for them roll over against the US? I'm not saying you want to roll over,
but there's a difference between that and thinking this means anything.
It does. You can't put a price tag on this right here, Owen. You can't do that. FIFA can't buy me out for that. None of it.
Apparently, you can put a price tag on it because they're charging upwards of about $50 for tickets.
Yeah, but that's good because your boy got 2. You're gonna be there
I will be there in the press box.
Yeah. We're living 2 different lives tomorrow.
Yeah, he's gonna live the fun stuff, whereas I'm in the sober area of the stadium.
I'll be drinking for both of us.
He will be, I'm sure.
Oh, buddy. Well, it's going to be showing the people who are going out to tomorrow. I already hit up a couple people in the Discord. They're going. Hit us up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit him up on Twitter if you're going. We'd love to say hello because we know you guys are die-hard US or Mexico fans. I also know there's a lot of diehards in our chat, in our channel, in this show who are watching, who are diehards. If you're interested in becoming a diehard yourself, check out the PHNXLocker.com. Get the discounts on the sweet merch, on events. Get a free shirt when you sign up, and every year that you sign up, and you get to participate in Discord. All these fun things were going on. A lot of events coming up. Again, only get all this stuff through the PHNXLocker.com. Tell them I sent you. There's not really a place to put that, but you can just think that while you're doing it. Owen, we did not discuss this because, it's kind of atypical, I guess, to try to put a score on a non-rising match, but I'm going to put you on the spot. I want a score line.
See, you know what? I'll actually report on this a little bit. I had some conversations with people up there today, and it's interesting. I asked someone who primarily covers Mexico what the result was going to be. He told me it was going to be 3-1 to the US. I asked someone that predominantly covers the US what the score was going to be. He didn't give me a score, but he told me that Mexico were going to win. So ultimately, no one wants to win this game is what I'm getting from this.
Everyone's just like, I said.
It's the complete opposite of what you said. Everyone is actually, in touch instead of just Max here sitting, shouting into the mic. Are saying pretty much that, whatever's going to happen. I'm going to go with a boring 0-0 draw.
Oh my gosh. This guy hates fun. This man
I'm not saying I hate fun. I'm just saying I think it's going to be dull. I think it's going to turn into a snooze fest of a game in some ways.
Not the good kind.
It's going to be 0-0 or it's going to be 1-1, but I'd edge towards 0-0.
That is that's absolutely tough. Well, I'm trying to look at what the odds are in the BetMGM Sportsbook app, but I'm going to give you guys a score line. And let's see, Harry.
It doesn't matter who wins. That's what it does not matter. Thank you, Harry.
No, Harry. I completely disagree. Well,
it's okay, Max. You have a right to be wrong.
Oh my! Oh, I'm sorry. I've actually gotten a lot right on the show. Like my score. Gosh darn it, it's not on there. I think I typed in USA, and it's showing hockey, but that's not what we're after. It's not what we're after. Cool. No, I think there are going to be goals. Certainly not 0-0. Give me
certainly not 0-0.
Ooh. Give me 3. I almost want to say Dos a Cero, but I'm not going to say it. Give me 3-1 USA.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's it.
I think 3-1 US.
I do.
I did already speak that prediction from someone else.
Okay.
You're copying them.
I'm not copying them. I'm an original.
Okay.
I'm gonna say. How about this? US is gonna score all 3 of their goals first, and Mexico's gonna get like one, to avoid the the shutout, the clean sheets, if you will.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, you're bumming me on that note. Let's get the heck out of here and let's watch some Suns playoff basketball. Appreciate everyone joining us on this intrepid journey. Catch us on Thursday at 6 p.m. for another show of the PHNX Rising Podcast. Of course, we're going to be previewing San Antonio FC, and I'm sure we're going to see our guy Harry in there because he just said it doesn't matter who wins. That's why it doesn't matter. He clearly is talking about San Antonio. So, all right, man, I get it. We're just going to replicate that into what we're talking about on Thursday, but appreciate everyone joining us. Again, follow us at PHNX__rising. _Owen.
Double the fun.
Yep, that's right. Follow me.
More important than the game tomorrow.
Oh boy, stop it. Follow me on Twitter at MaxDavidSimpson. You can follow this guy at OJEvans18. You can follow producer Shane at ShaneDeef. Double the F.
Even Harry's in the chat saying, let's go Suns.
Let's go Suns, baby.
Yeah.
I love it. Heck yeah. Well, appreciate you guys. See you
This
on...
could age very badly for people who listen in the morning.
I mean, honestly,
I hope not.
To be fair, a lot of things we say could age very badly in this podcast. But on that note, we'll see you guys on Thursday. But until then, peace.